A very good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Gremite, a team member of AIT Banking and Finance. I will be the MC this morning. Today, we are presenting a live webinar on role of partnerships in emerging models of banking business by Mr. Nanda Fernando, Managing Director, Sampath Bank Public Limited Company, Sri Lanka. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. The webinar is scheduled for approximately 1 hour. All participants will be muted. There will be a Q&A session after the presentation. If you have a question during the presentation, please type it in the chat box on your screen. Your question will be addressed during the Q&A session. The webinar is being recorded. We will be able to share a link with you after the event is complete. At this time, I'm going to hand the floor over to Dr. Sunil Venkatesh, Program Director, Professional Master and Finance at AIT, for a brief introduction of the webinar. Dr. Venkatesh, please.
Thank you very much, Ms. Chloe. A very good morning to all of you, and thank you for coming. About 10 years back, AIT started with this concept of professional masters, a one-year master degree for working professionals. And this idea has gained a tremendous traction over the years. And AIT is now host to nearly a dozen professional programs, including one in structural engineering that Dr. Naveed hosts. And the Masters in Banking and Finance itself is about a decade old, and we have alumni in over 7 countries, including in Sampath Bank and in NMB Bank. So the idea of the professional masters is that the admission criteria gives weightage to the experience of the participants. So it attracts people who are working in the industry and have had substantial managerial experience. And in lieu of that, we reduce the duration of the program to 1 year and make it easy for people to attend the program. I think Dr. Anwar will mention some of the flexible features that we are introducing in this educational innovation that AIT has been championing for over 10 years. And the programs are quite focused, preparing people for higher management roles in a specific industry. So in banking and finance, people study largely about banking and finance and prepare themselves for higher level responsibilities within their organizations and the industry. The onset of COVID has, of course, posed some challenges, but it has also created wonderful opportunities. And the professional masters will now become a blended offering using both online and in-class, and also bring together participants from different countries and allow them the flexibility of continuing working while they pursue a master's degree. So we look forward to your continued participation in these programs, not only in banking and finance, but in also all the professional master's degrees at AIT. The website will provide an introduction to the various professional masters that we currently have. Coming to the topic for today, it is a fact that banking industry is facing huge challenges. And one of the challenges, of course, is the challenge posed by the technology and the coming up of startups, popularly called fintechs, which are attacking parts of the banking business, especially in services such as payments and so on. One of the important trends in the industry is the emergence of partnerships. Sitting here in Thailand, we witness the practices of the Siam Commercial Bank, which has now sought to increase its customer base without increasing the number of branches. To that end, they have partnered with a convenience store chain called 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven has 11,000 outlets, Siam Commercial Bank has 1,400 branches. So obviously 7-Eleven has a better reach to customers, especially in the provincial areas. And so 7-Eleven now is going to provide SCB's banking services in a limited way to start with, accept deposits, make payments, and also in course of time, do some small and medium enterprise lending. So partnerships that were traditional, like partnering with Visa and MasterCard, are now giving way to more innovative, more value-adding partnerships where banks are coming together with organizations outside the banking industry. We certainly hope that these partnerships will thrive and also find educational institutions as a part of the bank's partnerships network. So in today's talk, Mr. Fernando will address how his organization, Sampath Bank, has been seizing some opportunities and partnering with organizations outside the industry and creating new customer bases and new revenue streams from ground zero, when nothing existed before. So partnerships are going to be the key for banks to grow. The traditional model of opening new branches, accepting new deposits, and seeing branches as engines of growth are probably coming to an end. In many Western countries, actually, there is bank closures now instead of net bank openings. Even in Sri Lanka, the bank openings, branch openings have slowed down considerably compared to about 5-6 years back. And banks are increasingly trying to create more value for customers without new branches. Before we go into the talk for the day, it's my pleasure to invite Dr. Naveed Anwar, who will give us an introduction to AIT and also the enterprise engagement strategy that he is responsible for in his role as Vice President of Knowledge Transfer. There are ideas that AIT has, and we are also excited to hear ideas from our partners such as NMB and Sampath Bank. I also would like to invite Dr. Rashid Bajwa, the CEO of NRSP Pakistan. NRSP is also a very strong partner of AIT, and we have seen a lot of participants come to AIT from the organization for our various programs. So I hand over the floor now to Dr. Anwar to give the welcome address and introduce the enterprise engagement idea.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Venkatesh. I won't take much of the time because I think all of the participants are eager to listen to the main talk. I just want to mention a couple of things which are changing rapidly all over the world, and especially at AIT, which is that the education institutions are generally now realizing that the traditional divide between education, formal education and professional education and skill development is now sort of merging because of the technologies and the modes of delivery and so on. And this has been something that has been going on for a while, but the COVID has simply accelerated it to a large extent. I was actually attending the World Economic Forum organized talk on a discussion on the future of education. And the World Economic Forum actually has two groups working on it. One is on the universities and one on the enterprises or on the industry. So ultimately they will bring them together. And the discussion is how the universities can play a role in providing job-ready or lifelong learning for the people working in the field. So AIT is responding to that by, first of all, setting up this office that I now head, which is called Knowledge Transfer. Primarily, this is an initiative to link closely with the industry, with the outside world, and ensure that whatever AIT does is valuable, and we bring the experience from the outside to AIT and from AIT to outside. And this can be done in a number of ways through consulting projects, through capacity building, and through joint research and so on. But most importantly, it can be done through the capacity building initiatives like the Professional Master Program. So one of the things that the AIT currently is doing is that we are offering more flexible ways of offering education. So we have the traditional master's program, which is fully in class. We have traditional PhD programs, which are fully on campus. And then we started the professional master programs. And now we have the flexible master program. So flexible master program is something in between the traditional and the professional master. That means it's a normal degree, but it is offered in a multi-mode way. So some is online, some is in class, some is blended, and so on. Actually, in fact, yesterday I started my first class in the hybrid mode for this semester. And so we had students from Nepal, from Pakistan, from Philippines, from many countries joining. And we also had students in the class. So the experience was quite interesting because we feel that there's a lot of interaction between the in-class and online students. So I think this mode of delivery of education, of delivery of, or even of collaboration is probably something that is going to catch on. So AIT is very fortunate to have partners like Sampath Bank and NRSP, and also the other colleagues here. So I would like to welcome everyone and thank you for your time. And we hope that these such informal discussions can lead to formal collaborations in the future. So thank you so much, Mr. Fernando and Dr. Venkatesh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Naveed. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Nanda Fernando. He is an experienced banker with nearly 40 years of experience in the industry. And he has worked through all the banking functions that you could possibly think of before assuming the CEO's office. If I remember correctly, it's more than 5 years now as a managing director. Is that correct, Nanda?
It's about 3 years, Doctor. 3 years in the position of MD. And prior to that, I was the CWO and the senior DGM.
Wonderful. So, Mr. Fernando will take you on a brief history of Sampath Bank before getting into the main subject matter. And he has been with the bank since its very early days. And so it will in some way, mirror his career through the bank. So thank you very much, Mr. Fernando, for joining us today. The floor is yours. Mr. Fernando, it's your floor now.
Sure. Thank you, Doctor. You need to provide the screen sharing facility. I think it's still on the disabled mode.
Okay, so our side will take care of it. You just give us a signal.
Yeah.
So we can start now with the slides.
Yes, I would want to play the first slide, this the corporate AV.
So please wait a minute. Yeah.
I clicked it. I believe it's okay.
Is it? Oh, please share the screen. Is this okay now?
Yes.
Mr. Fernando, would you like to manage the PowerPoint from your side, or should?
Yes, I will manage it from here, Doctor. That will be easy for me.
Okay. Kunal, can you give the
screen? Okay.
Host, transfer the host to Mr. Fernando, or allow him to share screen?
Please.
Allow him to share screen, please.
Mr. Fernando, you now co-host, you can share the screen now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will start with this corporate AV.
Since opening our doors, Sampath Bank has continued to revolutionize Sri Lanka's banking sector with a unique portfolio of products, services, and unmatched dedication. Nearly 3 decades later, we stand as one of Sri Lanka's most trusted banks. At Sampath Bank, we never lose sight that this trust is an indication of the immense confidence our customers have placed in us. Which is why we continue to strive forward, developing the best products and services, leading the way in ICT banking solutions, making our customers' lives that much more convenient. All your banking needs completed from the comfort of your home, or even when you're traveling the world, so you can rest easy knowing that Sampath Bank has got you covered. With our ever-expanding ATM and branch network, our customers are ensured of easy access anywhere in Sri Lanka. And with our dynamic currency converter, the convenience of transacting extends around the world. Foreign currency exchange ATMs, which are operational 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, convert your US dollars and euros into Sri Lankan rupees swiftly and without a hassle. We know you have a busy schedule and your time is valuable to us, which is why, to accommodate you, our cash deposit facility operates at all hours. Providing our customers with 365-day banking convenience. But that's not all. We've always looked towards the future and contributed to our nation's development. At Sampath Bank, we believe that the quality of service we provide is only as good as our team itself. Our solid HR model ensures developing leaders at all levels and retaining our competent team of professionals in our journey towards excellence. Armed with passion and dedication, the Sampath team continues to be at the forefront of numerous community-strengthening initiatives, such as our Entrepreneurship Development Program, which is at the core of our CSR vision. We believe that it is this dedication exercised in every area of our operations that has yielded us unprecedented success in our financial performance. The reason behind the many awards bestowed upon us and the growing trust of our customers in everything we do. As we keep moving forward and providing advanced digital banking solutions, our main aim will always be to make our customers' lives simpler and better. Sampath Bank, we present your future.
So very good morning and very good morning to all of you. Dr. Venkatesh, the AIT team, Mr. Sunil, Dr. Naveed, all professors of the AIT, and my fellow participants for the meeting. Firstly, thank you very much to all of you for the kind introduction and the opportunity to speak and share my experiences on how banks and institutions could compete in the new age through collaboration. Firstly, I would like to tell you how I intend to share this 45 minutes of the next timing coming on. For approximately 5 to 10 minutes, I will give a brief introduction of the Sampath Bank, because to make you understand the background, which will give some indication and add some value to the main topic which I would wish to speak. Then I would secondly, for approximately 25 minutes, go on this subject of partnering, alliances through collaboration, and leave approximately another 10 minutes, taking a full 45 minutes in all to speak of what I intend to speak today. Firstly, though I have a lot of slides here about the bank, I do not wish to go through each and every line item of it in order to save time. However, I will just give a background. In fact, Sampath Bank started in 1987, a listed commercial bank, and I must say that the Sampath Bank was the bank which changed the landscape of banking in Sri Lanka. 35 years ago, banking in Sri Lanka were being done on a totally manual basis, and that is the time the Sampath Bank came forward to as revolutionizing the banking industry. And from that, the very first day, we introduced the unibanking concept, where a customer of a bank, our bank, could do any transaction from any other bank. We extended banking hours. Banking at that time in Sri Lanka was from 1 o'clock to 1:30, 1 on Mondays, 1:30 on other days. We changed this to 3 o'clock. And today we do have some branches called super branches functioning 365 days from 8 a.m. in the morning till 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. So we started the ATM network in Sri Lanka. We introduced the MasterCards, Swift, debit card, Visa Platinum, and the check scanning and the truncation project, the foreign currency encashing ATMs, and the cardless ATMs. Basically, I don't want to go through all the innovations. If I just simply say, out of the total innovations in the banking industry in Sri Lanka, approximately 80 to 85% have been introduced by our bank. And we are the only bank who has more than 150 merchants onboarded in our online banking, which accounts to approximately 24% of the internet-based banking transactions in Sri Lanka. Over the years, we have been achieving and been awarded by very many international awards, as you would see. And the financial strength of the bank, these figures are in Sri Lanka rupees, and currently a rupee is approximately 185 to a US dollar. and this presentation could be obtained through AIT to anybody who would wish to. So therefore, I do not wish to explain each and every line item here, as I told before. Basically, our bank has the retail banking, the consumer banking area, the corporate banking area, and the other services. We do have the traditional deposit products, the advances products, and the other delivery channels consisting of the branch network, the ATM network, mobile banking, and the internet and the cloud-based banking systems as well. And what you would see is about the best brands of our bank, consisting of all types of deposits, advances, treasury, and so on. And some of these brands are very well known in the Sri Lankan banking community over the last 3 decades. And we also have in our corporate banking area, the corporate credit, finance, and the foreign currency banking unit, which cater to the offshore markets. We do have a rep office in Yangon in Myanmar, which we established approximately 3 to 3.5 years ago. And also through our FCBU offshore banking division, we cater to the advances in Bangladesh, Maldives quite a lot, and to some of the customers of ours in the Eastern African countries as well. So we have just started to move away from the Sri Lankan banking shores, and over the last 5 to 10 years have been doing pretty well through financing to offshore markets as well. We do have our international trade services products, the traditional international trade products, as well as our Sampath Vishwa is our flagship brand for internet-based banking, which we do through the internet banking. Then we also have our electronic banking division, which is one of the best in Sri Lanka, I would say. As I told, we have our internet banking Sampath Vishwa and the IPGs and the Sampath corporate payment systems, which enable companies to manage their salary payments very effectively. And we do have quite a large correspondent bank network as well, built over the last 3 decades. And the bank acts as an agent for 8 global companies for fund transfer matters as well. We do have our branch network spread throughout the country, as you would see here. And the 3 largest districts which contribute to the GDP of the country are mostly the Colombo, Gampaha, and Kalutara districts, in which we have basically 100 branches out of our 229. Sampath Bank also has our subsidiaries which are 100% owned. Siapatha Finance is a engaged in, it's a finance company. They accept deposits as well, engaged in leasing, factoring, and the other loan products as well. We have SC Securities, which is a stockbroking company. SITS is a software development and renting maintenance company. They do maintain Sampath Bank systems as well. And finally, we do have the Sampath Center, which is a company which owns real estate mainly buildings, and they manage the buildings and hire to the bank. And now I would come to the performance of the bank for you to get some general understanding. And the performances up to the beginning of last year was extremely good until we had a rehearsal, I would say, to the COVID conditions what we face today. Last year, 2019, April, we had on the Easter Sunday a few blasts taking place in Colombo, which was a terrorist and planned attack. So this had a major setback to especially the tourism during the second quarter onwards. And so that was a time that it gave us, the Sri Lankans, an initial, shock to how to, move away from the comforts and the business style we were enjoying till the first quarter of last year. So come second, third and fourth quarters of last year, we had to change our styles, and I would say this paved us and gave us some relief under tough conditions when the COVID came on during the early of this year. So as you would see, the net interest margins in the bank have been increasing from 2015 to 2019, and then had taken a dip in view of this Easter attacks, what I mentioned, and still stands at 4.1 as it is at the end of first quarter. The cost to income we have been managing in the bank pretty well with addressing both ways of revenue growth and the cost reductions, and mainly due to the digitalization journey that we have been putting in place. The cost to income has been coming down pretty well from the 54 numbers to approximately 35, almost by 20% within 4 to 5 years. And it has taken a slight increase after the Easter bombings, but we are pretty sure that we should be able to come down to the 2018 level very soon. Deposits growth, here you see how the industry were growing at through the black line, and the Sampath Bank through the blue line, and we have been pretty good and aggressive in this area. And over the last 3 years, we were raising capital in a big way, and by the end of last year, we had pretty good capital buffers, as I will show later on. And as a result of it, we are pretty liquid now. In fact, in the bank, we are liquid as we have never been liquid in the history of the bank. And as a result of it, we are now focusing on CASA, current account and savings account, low cost deposits only, without giving much focus to the high cost fixed deposits. So therefore, right now, due to liquidity, we do not need high cost deposits. So we are letting off the high cost deposits, and that is why you would see the deposit growth, coming down. But we are pretty confident that at any particular time, we can push the deposits to grow aggressively from any point. As you would see, the yellow and the orange represents the CASA of Sampath Bank in the year of 2019 and 20, and has been growing and pretty good well compared to our peers. The industry, certainly definitely better than the industry and better than our peers, the three other private sector banks as well. Credit growth also, we have been enjoying pretty good credit. In fact, at 24, 21, 22% range until this Easter bombings and the COVID has come. And as a result of it, we have slowed down, because this is the time where you need to be extremely careful in lending to ensure that the funds are not utilized for consumption and they are diverted to areas which will generate productivity and real growth to the economy. We have also been increasing our market share over a period of time from 8.1 in 2015 to almost 9% by now. Sector-wise, this is how our credit exposure is spread into different sectors. And as you would see here, we are pretty liquid than the regulatory margins which we are required to enjoy. And so now I would go on to the main topic of the day, and in competing in the new age through collaboration. 40 years ago, when I joined banking, a cloud was a condensed water vapor in the sky. 4G was an address on a flat. Amazon was a rainforest in South America. Alibaba is a story that we narrated to children. And Twitter was the sound of a bird. But today, all these have different meanings. Today, all these are multinational companies earning billions of dollars and are well known globally. At the same time, there were some other companies well known globally who are not heard even today, or their prominence have gone down pretty much lesser than they were 40 years ago. Now, how does this relate to you, and how does it relate to us? If you analyze the basic reason for this, the main reason is the companies who were unheard 40 years ago and are doing well accepted the fact that they need to change. And the companies who did not believe on this or who did not embrace change gradually are diminishing in the global focus. So the point what I would want to stress is the only thing which will remain constant, which will not change, is the word change. Other than this, everything keeps on changing. And if we do not change, we go down to sink. So therefore, it is very important that we start this session with the belief that change is the core the change should be the focus and change should be consistent. And now I would wish to say something little about the banking environment in Sri Lanka and how Sampath Bank has gone into partnering to alliances with the view to collaborate to harness the best benefits to what we aspire. We in Sri Lanka have state banks, private banks, commercial banks, development, savings, and cooperative banks. And basically, the three most important revenue streams here still are fund-based interest income, the fee-based income, and the exchange income. Sri Lanka's capital markets are not that developed as yet, and to a large scale, a larger percentage of the revenues are dependable on these three main revenue streams. And when you take the banks, again, the large banks basically dominate. We do have 6 banks with 19% market share, 5 medium banks with 15%, and 21 small banks. So therefore, the Sri Lankan banking is still dominated mostly by the large banks, and these large banks are pretty much all over the Sri Lanka. When you take the loans and advances, or you take the investments, you take the deposits, take the total borrowings, as you would see on this slide, the situation is still about the same. The banking industry has been growing from 10% to 12% over the last 1 year. Loans and advances growing year on year at 11.4. Non-performing has been a challenge, especially due to the 2 reasons I mentioned the other day. The deposits growth has accelerated year on year from 11.2 to 12.2, and the PAT improved from 28.7% growth minus growth last year to 10.2 in the first quarter of 2020. And a larger portion of this consists of term loans and overdrafts at 56% and 13%. And the gold loans or the pawning book here in Sri Lanka is pretty small compared to some other markets at 4%, and the credit cards are 1.6%. And now, where are the opportunities for us to collaborate? It is very important for us to understand that today we operate in an VUCA environment. What do I mean by VUCA? Is the environment is full of volatility. In fact, it is extremely high volatility. Uncertainty is unpredictable. Complexity has increased and day by day are growing. And we have got to be guessing with regard to the ambiguities which exist. Accordingly, rapid and unpredictable change has now become the norm. And very especially with the COVID conditions, a new norm has arisen, and it is so important that we look into the new norm and how we swim on these new waters or the new norm. So how do we manage in a world of VUCA? Is we identify what the threats we have the threat of volatility, the threat of uncertainty, the threat of complexity, and the threat of ambiguity. So counter volatility with vision. We need to accept and embrace change, as I told before, as a constant. Strong, compelling vision and values with flexible goals that can be amended where necessary. Because due to these uncertainties, it is very, very tough to stick into a particular goal. So you need to change with regard to this. You need to pause to listen and look around to understand and develop new ways to counteract uncertainty. We need to react to complexity with clarity. We need to be very clear in communicating with our people internally within your bank or your organization, and externally with your client or customer base as well. And reacting to ambiguity with agility. We need to promote flexibility. We need to promote adaptability. We need to promote agility. We need to hire, develop, and promote people who thrive in a VUCA environment. So these four are very, very important in order to challenge the VUCA environment which exists today. So I will start with an experience which we developed when we came into the COVID conditions very recently. And it is very important to understand that a single organization is not capable of facing this VUCA environment, because these unpredictable events keep on happening outside an organization, and it can be impacting the organization negatively as well as positively. And also the effective teamwork internally and externally contributes a lot in how you manage in an VUCA environment. Basically, the internal team collaboration is of paramount to success. And here I have mentioned some of the companies, what we see from the case studies, as to how they lost the industry leadership, and the concept of not working in silos has to be developed very, very aggressively. Each division in an organization should be knowing what the other organization, other unit in the organization should be doing, and they should be interconnected. External team collaboration is again a pillar of strength under such VUCA environment, and only a limited time is available to react for opportunities and threats. So accordingly, strategic partnerships or alliances are very, very essential today to succeed. Now I come on to this experience we had in the Sampath Bank during the COVID time. And as I told you before, we had a lockdown period of approximately 2 to 3 weeks in most of these districts, the prominent districts, Colombo, Gampaha and Kalutara, which contributes very heavily to the GDP of the country. So therefore, the movement for the people came to a standstill. There were no vehicles on the roads. The factories, shops, offices, companies were totally shut down. And basically, we had to go back to the age what we lived 40 years ago, when life was not this complicated, where the expectations of the people were low, and digitalization, computerization, and internet was not very effective. Telecommunication and the communication modes were also not very effective. So basically, we went into back to what we were 40 years ago. And that was life in Sri Lanka, basically around March, April, a couple of months before. So people had to go back to the usage of cash, because the POS machines and the internet-based suppliers who were interacting with customers were all inoperative. So the need of the cash became very, very important. And due to curfews, though ATMs are available, people were not permitted to move into the ATMs. So, however, the banks were an essential service. We had to function in order to meet the requirements of the people. So therefore, what we did was, Sri Lanka has a good transport system, a taxi service similar to Uber, called Pick Me in Sri Lanka. So therefore, Sampath Bank partnered with this Pick Me service in delivering cash to the people. And how that happens is now this idea of us came as a result of developing a particular
Now,
product.
Sampath Bank customers can stay safe at home without going to ATMs and get cash delivered home through PickMe. For details, go to www.sampath.lk. Sampath Bank, we present your future.
So, therefore, with the objectives of partnering, which are the objectives of any partnering process, we developed this PickMe. PickMe had the vehicles, the drivers, and the tuk-tuk three-wheeler vehicles as well. And Sampath Bank had a system, an internet-based system, which was mobile-based as well, which could enable the transfer of funds from one person to another person. And the beneficiary need not have been enjoying or having an account with the Sampath Bank. So this system, Sampath Bank could transfer funds to any account holder or to a non-account holder. All what the non-account holder or the account holder should have had is a mobile phone, and the mobile phones are, plenty and in very high use in Sri Lanka. So we changed our systems so that anybody who wanted cash could log on to this system and transfer money to anybody, and only necessary information for the remitter was the mobile telephone number and the national identity card number. Everybody have national identity cards in Sri Lanka. So by inputting these two information, the beneficiary gets a message and a taxi driver gets a message. So the taxi driver goes to the ATM. The taxi driver, by inputting an OTP, what he gets, which is shared by the beneficiary, the taxi driver withdraws the money and hands it over to the beneficiary within a few minutes. So this is a partnership collaboration which the Sampath Bank developed 3 months ago, and this helped us and was aimed at these three objectives, what you would see on the screen. Initially, it helped to expand our network and build the ecosystem. As a result of this facility, a new clientele joined the Sampath Bank because during this COVID-19 period, people were at home. They had a lot of time which they didn't have before to be at home, to experiment various things, to start new banking relationships. And on top of all this, they had a need for money. So they opened accounts, and as a result of this, not only the account opening numbers of our bank, our deposit balances escalated in a big way. And if we had gone to do this deposit mobilization in a different way, in a traditional way, things would have been different. And I always believe that if you do something the same way every day, the results are going to be the same results. But what we aspire are not same results. We aspire different results. So if we want different results, obviously you need to do things differently. So this is the difference that Sampath Bank, the latest difference we created over the last couple of months. And as a result of this activity, the number of customers grew, the low-cost deposits, current account and savings account balances in the bank grew tremendously. In fact, if we had made an effort to raise these funds through the traditional ways, we would have had to spend millions and millions of rupees for advertising and marketing campaigns. So therefore, what we did was we enhanced the product's capabilities. We had a product called Mobile Cash, which could transfer money from one person to another. What we did was we enhanced the capability of this and adjusted to suit the need of the day. And obviously, there were enhanced technology and data capabilities involved. And basically, we were able to obtain the objectives through this product, what we introduced over the last 3 to 4 months. So this is one classic example I would wish to say, because today the traditional modes of revenue, the fund-based revenue, the fee-based revenue, exchange revenue, and if we continue to increase market share through the marketing efforts and through the marketing efforts of our frontliners who are seated in our brick and mortar branches, this will take a very, very long time. And for us to increase market share, it may take, certainly more than the period we would be in banking. So therefore, that makes all the importance as to why we should experiment and move into these new areas called partnering and alliances. So therefore, the capabilities of the two parties who would get together would really blend together and bring benefits to both parties. So therefore, I would wish to speak the next 5 minutes or so in explaining what are the challenges which are there in partnering, what are the risks which are there in partnering, and what are the risks of not partnering. because whether you partner or collaborate, there are certain risks, and not collaborating also has certain risks. Now, this is what happened to the world famous companies which I mentioned earlier. They did not change, they did not move forward. As a result, when everybody else go up, they remain at the lower level. So challenges in partnering are very important to be identified early. You need to identify the opportunities, need to scan the business environment, identify proper potential opportunity. And it is very important that you convince your partners and mutually scope the opportunities. And this is not something that you can have in a meeting or two. The initial commencing of the thinking change alone may take a good 10 to 25 meetings. So therefore, you need to have patience. You need to approach your partner step by step. So identifying is important, and convincing and explaining the mutual benefits are very, very important. Now, thirdly, forming the partnerships and establishing the rules of the engagement are very, very important, because you need to understand what your capabilities are. You need to understand what resources your partner has and how you reallocate the resources to blend very smoothly, how you improve the service quality levels. You need to understand the cultural differences between the two partners, and the mutual responsibilities and respect for both companies are very, very important. At the same time, it is very important for you to understand your asset size, your reputation, and your partner's asset size, and their partner's brand image, reputation, and so on. So therefore, sharing the rewards, yield sharing between the partners are very, very important. And this will improve, and when you do all above, this will help to improve the rapport, the relationship you will be establishing in partnering. And it is very important these 4 steps be looked at very carefully, patiently, because if you don't do this process very smoothly, sometimes when you come to the tipping point, to the point at which you are just about to sign the agreement and put the icing on the cake, sometimes you fall back. So you need to have your people who are competent, who are patient, who can negotiate, who can understand, who are of empathy. These are the most important challenges that we have in partnering. And as I told earlier, there are certain risks of partnering, managing the mutual expectations, because we cannot expect a win-lose situation. A partnership or an alliance obviously have to be bringing mutual expectations into reality. They need to align with and be ensure that they deliver the real customer expectations or exceeding the customer expectation. Information regarding sharing risk, operational service risk, misidentifying opportunities, and the financial risk is very, very important, and it is very necessary that the organizations who think of moving into partnering and alliances understand all these with the reputational risks. At the same time, as I told, if you don't do certain things, there is the cost of opportunity missing there as well. So therefore, missing lucrative market opportunities, missing the revenue opportunities, missing the customer segments, missing the geographic reach are all important and lucrative opportunities which the CEOs of the company should be aiming continuously. And together with that, the unforeseen risks in competition, the inability to extend business or towards not understanding the real position you are in the business life cycle, whether you are in the growth stage, whether you are in the maturity stage, and where you are, where your partner is, should be identified very clearly. And it is generally a little easier when you blend with a partner who is either at the start, the growth stage, uh, because both companies are eager to ensure that they move into the maturity stage where they capture a larger market share. And inability to extend business to access new technologies and pooling resources to improve capabilities could certainly be a drawback. And this case study of the PICME collaborating with Sampath Bank is what I explained for the delivery of cash to their doorstep. Then we do have these very famous examples of Uber, who are not reported to be having any vehicles, but is having the largest fleet of vehicles of taxis. The Airbnb, these are creeping into high capital intensive industry, creeping into high capital intensive industry is very tough today, but with zero capital through strategic partners, these companies have moved into greater heights. And again, we have the example of Nike with Apple and so on. So therefore, I wish to summarize my brief speech on the importance of partnering and alliances. The banking business continue to enjoy profits using traditional channels to reach target customers. Now that has been the traditional way of banking in Sri Lanka, and I'm sure in most other countries as well. Companies engaging with traditional business models are being constantly disrupted in the VUCA age. Business disruption, I would say, is the norm today. The fintechs are creeping into the industry of banking, very specially at a rapid speed. So unless you have a different business model, the one of the best may be to blend with them so that you gain the best of their strengths and you put your experience both into an alliance which can move you to a different market segment. Large capital intensive dinosaur type of businesses are being challenged by zero capital tech companies. In the VUCA age, there is only a limited time available to react to opportunities and threats. So therefore, my dear friends, it's very important that we understand the importance of pooling resources through strategic partnerships may ensure, and this is one of the fastest and the best ways how I see to survive and succeed in a big scale in this era of uncertainty. So therefore, I would wish to take a few clarifications or questions if you do have. And we do have approximately 5 to 7 minutes left, and I will be very happy to answer any clarifications of yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fernando. A very wonderful exposition. If I had to summarize quickly, there is a customer need. So the PICME Sampath Bank collaboration shows that there is a customer need waiting to be fulfilled. And I think that is at the core of any innovation today, creating value for customers. And being quick, to reach and exploit that opportunity is an organization skill. And as Mr. Fernando pointed out, it requires a quick identification of opportunities, but also the necessary skills to negotiate and finalize a deal with the partner. So what this means is that banks are changing, but also internally, people working in banks have to modify and acquire new skills that help them work in this new environment. Thank you for excellent examples here and a very powerful message for all banking colleagues and also people from other industries present. Now, normally the questions come in through the Q&A, but we also see many friends here. PL AIT alumni, PL Henanayake is here. Thank you, PL, for joining us. Dr. Wijewadena is here. He's a faculty from Sri Lanka who is a mentor for AIT's banking and finance. Dr. Bajwa is here from Pakistan. But also we have, most importantly, our students from the Masters in Banking and Finance program. So instead of trying to only moderate through the Q&A, I will also open the forum for all of you to interact directly with Mr. Fernando. So first, a question. Now, Mr. Ghulam Sarwar is our student in the Banking and Finance program. Now, what should be the continuity plan if the partnership fails? I think this is one of the risks that you're talking about. So, for example, if Pick Me Up partnership does not work, how do you provide continuity to that service?
Yes, in considering partnerships, it is very important that we also have a plan B in the event a partnership fails, how we exit from it. Basically, now our exit strategy, we had a plan. In the event, if necessary, we could put into practice. And in Sri Lanka, the eKYC was one of the biggest issues we had in moving with the digital journey for the future of Sri Lanka, because we all believe that digitalization reduces costs, makes transactions much faster, and brings immense convenience to the lives of people. And the eKYC was one of the biggest issues we faced. And we were Sri Lankan, probably Dr. Wijewadena may be aware, we were trying to work on this. Unfortunately, about a year ago, we fell into the grey list in the anti-money laundering. But subsequently, we have now, after a couple of audits, we have come out of it. And I'm happy to say that we are the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the Lanka Clear, the company which is working Central Bank on this, is working very fast on a shared KYC. And Sampath Bank, I'm happy to announce that approximately out of 27 companies who has bid internationally as well, we were selected as the company to offer the proof of concept by the Central Bank. And approximately 3 weeks ago, I signed that agreement with the Central Bank. So we are working on an eKYC. So when this eKYC is available, it becomes a lot easier to do things differently. So in the sense, even already withdrawing money from the ATMs of different banks are always possible at the moment. And we do have another plan. Let me, now that the question was asked, let me open it up. We have planned and slowly put into practice a scheme called the My Bank. It's branded as My Bank, which is an agent banking model, which we see in some other countries like Malaysia. This is operating fairly well. So basically moving away from the brick and mortar branches to and also giving more opportunity to the unbanked and the underbanked clienteles. We have provided this agent banking facility so that any customer could do their usual banking from their shops, their corner shops like, you know, the 7-Elevens. We don't have the 7-Elevens operative in Sri Lanka, but we have approximately 250 agents already, and we intend to move into a big number of agents in the near future. So if this corner shop facility is available, the person, even if the Pick Me Alliance fail, you know, by that time we will have this network also developed, which is an option for them to walk, you know, 25-50 meters away and withdraw cash from their shops. So we should always have a plan B and a plan C, because in this VUCA environment, all what we expect does not work out perfectly. So it's a very good question, and we should have in moving forward such alternate plans as well.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Fernando. The other question from our master student is that with these emergence of these new services and partnerships, etc., is the identity of the bank going to undergo a change? Will it be no longer purely a financial intermediary? And how will the regulator respond to these changing roles that the bank is taking?
Well, in fact, the bank will not lose its identity, but it will extend how, for me, banking will be banking. Banking will not change, but how we facilitate banking will go through a huge change. So that is the change that we are experiencing currently. How we facilitate banking, whether we do this banking, whether we confine ourselves to the brick and mortar branches, or we move into the mobile banking, we move into the internet banking, we move into the pick-me banking, we move into the doorstep banking, we move into the agent banking. So lots of ways how we facilitate banking are, you know, emerging every day. So therefore, the central bank is keen to ensure that they protect the interest of the depositors and they manage the KYCs effectively. And as long as those two are ensured, protecting the interest of the depositors and managing the KYC to ensure money laundering does not take place, the central bank has no issue in approving these schemes. In fact, this scheme was also, Sri Lanka is a highly regulated, you know, banking is highly regulated in Sri Lanka, and the central bank will not, you know, be reluctant to move on, because this will be the way forward. Otherwise, we, you know, are left behind, and like the dinosaurs, we will also, the chances of, you know, sinking is there. But if we need to, you know, develop as an economy, if we need to develop as a country, if we want to develop our GDP to, you know, all this are new trends that we need, central bank will need to manage carefully, and which they are doing currently.
Wonderful. So before I come to the Q&A box, let me invite our panelists. We have with us Dr. Wijewadena, Mr. Sunil, and Dr. Rashid Bajwa from Pakistan, CEO of NRSP Pakistan. So if they wish to ask any questions, clarifications, or have any comments, and then we will revert to the Q&A box again. Gentlemen, please.
Yeah, if I take the microphone, Dr. Venkatesh now, I'll have to congratulate Mr. Nanda Fernando for the well-enlightening presentation he has made. In fact, he has opened our eyes now because in the COVID-19 pandemic, Sri Lanka's economy, Sri Lanka's financial system, Sri Lanka's services sector came to a standstill. But still, with innovative measures which the Sampath Bank had introduced, the banking sectors continued to operate. So the new practices which Sampath Bank had introduced had helped the customers, and it has in fact helped the other banks also to come up with new innovative practices. So we have to congratulate Mr. Nanda Fernando and his team at Sampath Bank for coming up with these things. And to add the some more clarifications to the questions raised by these PMBF students, what Sampath Bank has actually done is it has not deviated from its core banking. Core banking is still there, as Mr. Nanda Fernando has mentioned. What it has done is it has outsourced some of the byproducts which it had been developing, it had been producing internally inside the Sampath Bank to outside agencies. So in this case, to use the Pick-me cab service and the cab operators to deliver cash immediately, at the same time taking care of the protection of the depositors' money by using the new OTP practice of the Sampath Bank, is a really innovative practice which has to be, I think, adopted by other banks also. Because in the COVID-19 pandemic, as Mr. Nanda Fernando had mentioned, nobody knew what would happen because the uncertainty is so high, ambiguity was so high, and the complexity of the problem was so high, and we were all vulnerable because it was volatile. So in this particular thing, any other bank would have simply closed the shops and, accepted the defeat. But what has been done in this present case is that Sampath Bank had joined with other people, which is a very good thing, because to come out with this kind of massive catastrophe that had been delivered to the global economy, you can't work in isolation. You need collaboration, you need cooperation, you have to trust other people, you have to make use of the facilities available with other people in order to enhance your product capability, which has been done. So what I would suggest is that I think we'll have to document this, because this is a situation where we must be able to carry it forward to for the information of the posterity. So I suggest to Mr. Nanda Fernando, document this strategy so that it will be a good learning point for all of us, and we can refer to it later when we teach our students that the banks are not there to die out. Banks are there to live and help the people of the country. So thanks, Mr. Nanda Fernando, for the good work that you have done. I have to compliment you, and also I know from the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, they always love this type of innovations, and therefore you are up on the deal here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wijewadena. I think we can put some of our master students to do a research on the topic.
Exactly. I mean, if somebody can, write his project as to how, banks should respond to an uncertain and unexpected catastrophe which had been delivered to the bank from outside world, because this is not something done within the bank, not within the economy, but it was a global external shock. I think one of the master's degree degree dissertation that these people are writing now, probably one of the students can change it immediately and, you know, write a dissertation. And I am pleased to, you know, supervise that dissertation.
Wonderful. We will have to, I will discuss with the students and look at the opportunity here. So may I invite any other panelists with their, yes, Dr. Bajwa.
Very much, Dr. Venkat. And congratulations, Mr. Nanda Fernando, for an excellent presentation, really very innovative. You know, it opens up a lot of opportunities. So what I understand is it's like Food Panda. Rather than bringing food to your home, you bring cash to your home. So this Food Panda is something which is quite innovative. But the question is that the moment my money, public money, goes into the hands of a third party, which is, I don't know how the central bank, the regulator will react to give money from one account to an intermediary person who we don't know his KYC, and the transit of the money till it is deposited or given to the real person. In between this, whether it is 5 minutes or 10 minutes or half an hour, the money is actually at risk. And that risk obviously increases depending upon the credentials of the driver or somebody who is taking this money. So my question is that as the policy maker, how would the policy maker, central bank in your case, react to this, that you can hand over public funds to a third party?
If I just clarify a little more, Dr. Rashid, how this happens is now the Food Panda, what you said, a customer, you know, could order, you know, some food from the KFC or, you know, to deliver it on behalf of you to your own home. So how we worked out this facility is, when this transaction is initiated, the OTP is given by the customer to the taxi driver. So the bank does not disclose the details of a customer to a third party. The customer who has the right, who A, transfer money to B, and B gives his OTP to the taxi driver. The beneficiary of the person who is going to collect the cash gives the money to the taxi driver, gives the code OTP to the taxi driver, which he uses as the PIN, the personal identification number, to withdraw this money from the ATM. So the bank does not get involved in diverting information, anything. The beneficiary diverts it to a third party to pick the money on behalf of him and deliver within a few minutes. And usually the pick-me drivers are all around, so that as the ATMs are also plenty, the taxis are plenty, they could deliver this within 15 minutes, maximum half an hour. But this pick-me company and we, the bank, also has the ability to the GSM network to track where a taxi driver is at any point of time. So in the event the taxi driver picks this money and do not deliver, they can instantly spot where this taxi is. So, and according to the, you know, intelligence services and the police services available, we could within a few minutes track this taxi driver. And these are not very large amounts of money. In Sri Lankan rupees, it's about 10,000, 5,000 rupees. The immediate small needs, and a customer could get 5 times of 5,000. That's a different. But at one particular time, it's a small amount of money, and the chances of a taxi driver misusing this 5,000 rupees, the dangers and the disadvantages to him are much more than the 5,000, because he will get blacklisted from this company, and he runs the risk of going, to the legal authorities, all that. So therefore, number one, we are not moving away from the oath of secrecy of diverting a customer to a third party. The customer delegates that authority to a pick-me driver to collect the cash from the machine and bring it to him. So that is, we are not deviating from the secrecy. At the same time, if they misuse, the person could be tracked within a few minutes.
I think if I add something more, Mr. Nanda Fernando, your system, I think, worked perfectly well, and there was no any abuse or misappropriation by any of the drivers, because I know it had been in operation for about 3 months now. We can always trust the pick-me drivers, because there had been instances where some of the travelers in those cabs, leaving their iPhones inside the cab, and later on the pick-me drivers were delivering the iPhones back to the person who had left them there. So we can trust the pick-me drivers, number one. Number two, as Mr. Nanda Fernando says, the amounts involved are very small amounts. It doesn't pay for any person to, cheat 5,000 rupees and get into jail. So therefore, there is no incentives for the pick-me drivers to abuse it. Third one is from the point of view of the central bank. Central bank actually encourage all the commercial banks to deliver cash by going into various places in their mobile vans and operating a mobile van bank service. So what the Sampath Bank has done is, instead of using these mobile vans to visit places, Sampath Bank had used a very inclusive banking technique by using the modern technology and modern bank product facilities available in the country to deliver the cash needed by people for their urgent needs. Because I know at that time when banks were closed, many people who had not got cash with them in order to make ready-made payments to the suppliers, because you needed cash, because you couldn't use credit cards for that purpose. So the money was needed. What Sampath Bank has done is, instead of the other banks operating their own mobile van services to deliver cash in various places, this is, in my view, an inclusive banking service practice, which has to be, I think, commended by all of us. In my view, the central bank has no objection to this type of thing. Central bank always promotes this type of innovative services.
Thank you, Dr. Wijewadena. Mr. Sunil, do you see similar opportunities in Nepal, and
yes,
what are parallels?
Yes, first of all, it's really great presentation, Mr. Fernando, and that's definitely very interesting thing for us to also migrate some of the practices which we are doing, and it's very innovative and something for us to again consider in our market also, and seizing the market, responding to market opportunity challenges through collaboration is something very interesting for the way we are doing banking in Nepal as well. Apart from the issues raised by on this operational risk issues and something to do with the central banks or regulators' approval in a very highly regulated environment like Nepal, whether that such kind of collaboration is permitted or not, and what kind of approval is required, that's something we need to discuss. But overall, I think, I mean, it's very interesting. And in Nepal, what we did during this COVID time, we also had a lockdown for almost 4 months in Nepal. And that time we allowed customers to access any banks, all the banks, we put all the banks' ATMs in such a way that they can use any other bank's, my customer can use any other bank's ATMs during that COVID time without paying any charges, any extra charges, anything. We have provided all the mobile banking, this QR code payment, all these digital channels, provide them with free of cost. So we took that as an opportunity to create awareness and to create awareness among the customers, depositors to use these digital channels. We're trying to give them message during that time that these channels are more safer, and going forward, this really has helped us going forward to create new customers in this digital channel products. And in those, in that like for 3 to 4 months period of time, we have seen significant increase in customers who are using this mobile banking, this QR code payments, all these digital channels. And during that time, we also provided them account opening through Facebook Messenger, Viber, all these kind of innovative products we also launched. So it's more, I mean, it's really interesting presentation from your side. Actually, one question I have, there's interesting fact about there's a correlation of this cost to income ratio to digitization. And what I've seen in your presentation is it's the cost to income ratio of your bank has dropped significantly from 54-55% to almost 34% in few short span of time due to digitization. We are also about to start the digital journey in Nepal for the banks. Could you just share, like, what are the key factors that really help you to achieve that significant drop in that cost to income ratio over the period of time?
Yes, well, one, Sunil, I would say, was the shift of transactions from manually to electronically. Because electronic transaction, the cost of an electronic transaction to us is approximately 1/7 of a manual transaction. So if you are spending 70 rupees for a manual transaction, the cost will come down to about 10 rupees for an electronic transaction. So one of our primary objectives were to move the people from doing manual transaction into the electronic modes, that is using the electronic machines, using the mobile banking, and using the internet banking. So shifting the people from manual to electronic was one of the main important things. Secondly, improving the processes from the manual to the electronics. And thirdly, moving into a paperless bank. We are working towards a paperless bank by 2022. So the cost of getting rid of a paper is obviously, as you know, what is reduced is not only the cost of the paper. Now, if one thing what we did was the credit approvals, all we shifted into a system-based approval, where from the northern part of Sri Lanka, if a credit paper is to reach me a few years back, for me to reach it and approve, and for this approval to go back to that branch, it took about 6 days. But moving into electronically, they could move that paper to me within, a couple of minutes, maybe 2 minutes. And I, after taking maybe 15 minutes for that approval, could again transmit back to them within a few minutes. So they were able to disburse that facility within a few hours of the same day compared to 6 days, which was taking to and from before. So that rolled out the turnover, the disbursement of the loans much faster. And that helped to move the revenue up. And at the same time, moving this paper, you have to enter in various books, registers. The courier has to bring this. There is a cost involved. It has to be entered in various second paper documents, registers in my office. Again, shifting it back, there was cost. So we were able to reduce those costs also. So reducing the cost of those processes and enabling the faster disbursement improves the revenue. So both ways we were able to attack, and working towards a paperless bank. Well, if required, we can even share. I'm pretty open, being a bank, outside our country. Obviously, you are not a competitor of ours, so we are very, happy with the facilitation of this through AIT with Dr. Venkatesh's and the AIT team's effort. We are very happy even to share, and if this even on a future date to discuss any more, to share our experiences, because as I said, we changed the industry. We were the bank which changed the banking landscape, and we are the leader in IT in Sri Lanka. We have experimented these changes for the last 3 years, and I'm happy to say what is really the success behind of Sampath Bank is the team that we have, our staff. They are a younger team compared to the other banks. One of the oldest people in the bank are me, and all the others are much younger. So we have a younger team, a dedicated team, and a committed team. So every day we look at what changes, what new additions you can do, and every day my thinking is to do one small change in the banking towards digitalization. So before I leave office, I see what did I do today towards the digitalization journey. If I had not done anything, I think and send some instructions for application from tomorrow morning, even a small thing. So little improvements of this over the years are what has, as you saw in the slide, it was 55 when I took over, and now it has come to 35. And this is in spite of the revenue drop currently. Due to the COVID, the Sri Lanka Central Bank announced the moratorium, and during the moratorium period, we are required to charge only 50% of the interest income from the advances, which is less than the cost of funds. So therefore, that has hit the revenues in a big way. But once this becomes normal, I'm pretty sure. So there is a lot of effort which has gone to the digitalization journey, and I'm very happy to share this our little successes with other our fellow banks as well, if required in the future.
Thank you.
That's a wonderful offer, Mr. Fernando, and we hope that we can facilitate that to the benefit of NMB and other banks also in the AIT network. So hope we work this out sometime soon. Couple of questions about how sustainable is this advantage? Now, Sampath Bank has partnered with PickMe. Now, what will Hutton or another bank do that can mimic this? How long will the advantage last? Are there other PickMe services or other parallel services, or are you exclusively in arrangement with PickMe and so on?
We in the bank, Doctor, plan for the next 15 years journey is planned. So when somebody comes to where we are, by the time they come close, we have moved into the next step. So we keep on running faster than the others. And if you see our progress of the 3 private sector banks in Sri Lanka, you will see that our progress over the last 7 years, if you take in the shorter term, has been much faster. We are only 3 decades in operation, and both our closer and the larger private sector banks are 100 years and 130 years. But we are young, we run fast. So if when somebody comes, we have our next step. This is why we have gone into signing of the proof of concept for the shared KYC. So when the KYC comes into place, we have certain things to roll out. So, when they come near to this, we are happy to hand over and move on to the next level.
Next bigger service. And we have a question from one of our faculty, Dr. Srinivas Rao. He says 4% is a very healthy NIM. And I think if you look at the NIM from the Indian perspective, 4% is a very luxurious NIM. He wants to know where it is headed in the next couple of years. This is, of course, nothing related to the collaboration theme, but in general, the outlook for the industry in the aftermath of COVID, what will happen to NIM going forward?
Maintaining the current NIMs we enjoyed in the banking stream over the last few decades are going to be very, very challenging. And as you would see in the advanced countries, the NIMs are much lower than what we enjoy in this part of the world. And so the future is, we need to move from the dependability of fund-based income towards the fee-based income. So this is the future. So we are not expecting to maintain these NIMs at this rate. And Sri Lanka is also current thinking is that we move into a single digit interest rate. And Sri Lanka has reached that after long years. Probably this is the first time in my banking career that the interest rates have come down to the single digit, both for deposits and advances. So with this concept, the margins are going to shrink continuously, and therefore the banks will have to think of alternate revenue streams to move into the fee-based products. And that is why it becomes all the more important to partner and collaborate with alliances, both of the same trade and different trades. In the good old days, we have been saying, that diversion is usually to a related industry. But today, it may not have to be, as long as technological advances are there and technology, helps you to manage your risks. It is possible to, partner with a non-related business as well. So the answer is we have to be looking at new revenue streams, and there is nothing preventing the NIM coming down. It's very, very tough to maintain this.
4%. So I see that we are now at an hour and 45 minutes. This is well beyond what Mr. Fernando promised when he agreed to come for the talk. So thank you very much for being with us for this entire length. And we look forward to having you back in AIT, physically or digitally, sometime very soon. Our next speaker in the series is Dr. Rashid Bajwa. So I am now handing the floor over to my colleague, Ms. Kloai Mai, who will share with you what is coming up before we say goodbye for this afternoon.
Thank you once again for joining us today. Coming up next, we will host a talk by Dr. Rashid Bajwa, Chief Executive Officer, National Rural Support Program, Pakistan. So the date for the talk will be on the 20th August 2020. And the topics will be changing nature of competition in banking and financial service industry. So we look forward to seeing you all again. Special thanks today for Mr. Fernando for being available with us. Thank you for all the panelists for being available to join us this morning. Thank you once again to all attendees and look forward to seeing you again in the next webinar. We wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fernando. Bye-bye. Yeah, see you again.
Bye. Bye-bye.